What is a collagraph? A collagraph is a type of relief print. The simplest form is a cardboard relief print. It's made by creating a collage by gluing different materials onto cardboard. Then you roll ink over that textured surface and lay a sheet of printing paper on top to take an impression. The word collagraph and the method of calligraphy were introduced by American artist and educator Glenn Alps, first in Seattle in 1957 and then in New York in 1958 when he entered one of his collagraphs into the Brooklyn Museum National Print Annual. Now watch me make a collagraph printing block with card, leaves and twigs. These are all leaves from the grass. I haven't picked any from trees or bushes. And what I was looking for in the grass were weeds, I suppose. But notice the difference here between the top side of the leaf and the underside of the leaf. It's the underside that I'm interested in because it has a really lovely texture. Even if it's a soft and floppy leaf, that texture will probably print if I don't let it dry out too long. So that's the top surface of the leaf. And compare that with the underside with the ribs. This tree leaf fell to the ground in the wind, and it has a little bit of texture, but I actually think it's too thin to use. So choose your leaves carefully. This one has some nice ribs here, and this was one of the first ones I found, but these later ones are probably going to be better. I also found some really little twigs, and why I picked these up is because I want to create a very simple bird. So the other things that I have are some fairly thick card. Now this is the back of a drawing pad, and I keep all of these sheets of cardboard because we use them as backing sheets or we can use them in relief printing. I've got some scissors and I'm going to cut some shapes out. I have a pencil and I have a thinner piece of card from another pad that I'm going to use to put my pieces on. Now, what I'm also going to do is glue them in place. And to do that, I can use an all-purpose water-based glue, or I can use glue stick. So first of all, I'm going to very quickly sketch what I think my bird will look like. I'm going to have a body. Somehow I'm going to create a tail with one of the leaves, or maybe two of the leaves. And maybe I will create a wing shape and another wing shape. And then I want a head and maybe a beak here. And I'm also going to want an eye and some legs. So somehow I'm going to use those twigs for legs. Remember to use the textured part of the leaf. Try and find leaves that are quite thick, not too thin, and make sure that each piece is glued down or taped in position so that when we come to roll the ink on, it doesn't move around, and I'll show you how to do that. Now watch me demonstrate how to print a collagraph. And now I'm ready to put the ink onto my printing block. In this case, what I'm using is a relief printing block that I created yesterday. And the reason I'm coming back to it a day later is because I did a test print of this yesterday to see if it would work. And here's the test print. And what's interesting is that because I've got ink on it, this will actually now have a slightly different texture and maybe a more contrasty or dramatic texture. You'll notice that I've got areas of ink on the cardboard and these white bits of paper. So these are masking paper. So as I roll the ink on, you'll see that it goes over onto the cardboard as well. It's a little tricky to see where the ink is going when you're printing a second time. So sometimes you need to get down at an angle and look at an angle and catch the reflection of light and see that you're actually getting all the elements with ink on them, because the wet ink will be slightly glossy and the ink from yesterday will be dull. It will not be glossy. Notice I'm going backwards and forwards between my pools of ink and the printing block. Now this is an experimental print, so I'm not too worried if it's a little random. Okay, and in fact those leaves are moving a little bit. And you notice that I have got quite a bit of ink on the background again, so I don't want all of that. I want to just hide that, so then I take these pieces of paper that I prepared beforehand and I just slip them in. Maybe I'll get a little bit of random stuff. And you notice that when the inking roller touches the background cardboard, it creates a lovely kind of texture because it's rough cardboard. Now notice I've got some ink down here and I don't want that on the paper. So again, I just use a little bit of that, and then and notice that I've done all of that and got clean hands. So I can go straight to my printing paper, and I'm going to, because the printing paper is slightly transparent, I can go down very, very slowly and put it so that the print is right in the middle. You have to be careful at this stage that you don't slide it onto the paper, because then you'll get a double image. Now if I just press it down gently, it sticks because of the ink to the paper. And now I can press with my fingertips. Make sure that when you're doing this for the first time, you don't press too hard, because sometimes you can force the ink through the paper and then you start ripping the paper just with the pressure of your fingers. And don't take too long, because while we're doing this, the warmth from our fingers is actually drying the ink out. And now I can lift this up, and we notice that that leaf wants to stick. So very gently separate that from the print, and here it comes, very gently. I hope you try this. You know, one of the reasons I love this technique so much is because it is so open to possibilities, and children in my classes love its versatility. Thanks for watching.